Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of what if Issei got betrayed and become the Crimson Dragon God of Arcadia Part 4. Before we start, please go support Rage Revan and Dark Decade 97 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Some information about the Haida clan, history and overview. Haida clan was a recently developed clan, which was founded and developed few centuries ago. The clan was known to be highly influential clan, which was wealthy and had connections everywhere. Those that knew the Haida family, they knew that they were a very influential and wealthy family. Underneath the surface, the clan was known to have a supernatural connection. They knew the supernatural very well. As a result, they were even well known in the supernatural world. The current leader of the clan was Gora Hayadu, Issei's father, who had married a woman unaware of the supernatural, that being Miki Hayadu. The family had a motive, which indicated it was a very strict family. There is no good or evil, there is only power, and those that are too weak to seek or gain it. The motive showed that the clan was a pedigree family, meaning those that are considered pedigree were given priority and importance, and those that weren't, well, let's just say they were disowned. However, they were not barbaric enough to abandon them. By pedigree, the said member of the Hayatu family was known to have immense magical prowess, physical strength, weapon strength and proficiency, or at least a sacred gear. Those that did not have that level of criteria were immediately disowned, as they were not pedigree, but were not barbaric enough to abandon them, as mentioned above. Another rule that was present was that the clan's members were not allowed to attack another family member, which included even those that were disowned, which would cause them to be expelled without exception. Relationships with the supernatural and families associated with the supernatural. Now the Haida clan had good relationships with the supernatural factions. However, despite this, they were hated by a few select families, some of which were the 5 principal families of Japan. These were Imijima clan, Demon clan, Shinner clan, Gushihashi clan, Mikiri clan. The reason was that years ago, Juzo Heidu, Issei's grandfather, had humiliated their clan leaders with relative ease. He was able to completely defeat and take them down along with their clan members without a problem. This caused them to have animosity between them, which was still prevalent to this day. Their connection with the supernatural had some positive impact, especially towards the Hayatu in general. Since many supernatural families did not want to break up with their clan, they were even willingly to do some changes that would not have been normally possible. One such incident was Rias Gremory's cancelled with Riser Phoenix. This was broken because Rias had tried to give her virginity to Dai Heidu, which ended up with the engagement being cancelled since they did not want to break relationship with them. Guzo Heida's view on his family. Guzo was a kind-hearted man who always put family over himself first. He possessed high magical abilities that made him on par with a low Satan-class devil, at best. He could easily take on even the strongest of magicians of the human world without ease. But as his age passed, his strength was weakened and it reduced. He was not the same man he was years ago. He also saw his family becoming more power-hungry, envious and greedy, abandoning all philosophy of family and love. This saddened and caused him to worry, since this clan's future is not something he wanted. He was angered by the fact that his own son was one of the greedy and envious people. There was only one he saw was not like the rest of his clan, and that was Issei Hayadu, whom he loved irrespective of him being a disowned. However, he passed away, leaving Issei completely alone in a world that hated him. Oroheida's view on his family. Oroheidu was a strict man. He followed his family's motive, which he created without exception, especially when Juzo, his father, became old as time passed, and the influence of Juzo over the clan reduced. He was hard on his children and made them work harder, becoming powerful. Issei failed to reach his expectations, causing him to become disowned, but he was not abandoned. Issei was viewed as a disgrace to the family, and was immediately ignored. Issei tried to talk to his mother, but was given the silent treatment. He was ignored every time, especially with what Dai had done later on to him. Issei Heidu's view on his family. The only one that loved Issei was his grandfather, and after he had died, his life became a living nightmare. The life he wanted to build was all ruined by Dai, as he took everything he had. This caused him to become very depressed and hopeless as time passed. He hated how the factions treated him and wanted him dead, at every step, along with his family who could care less if he died. He tried his best to impress his family, but no matter what he did, Dee took credit and succeeded in his life. While Lysiel was left a shadow, he couldn't do anything as no one would have believed him no matter what. He soon stopped seeing the Hadus as his family, and saw family in the form of Hades and his family. Additionally, Dai also spread rumors behind his back and charmed those that issei loved, making him lonely and depressed. He could have turned hateful, but he chose to leave the family, deciding to leave them on their own. Eventually, as time passes in Arcadia, he decided to create a Haida clan of his own to show how powerful he has become and what he can do. Current members: Yurzo Haidu, Bora Haidu, Vicky Haidu, Ai Haidu, Aika Haidu. Several relatives. Former members: Issei Haidu, Chapter 9, Magical Examination, in the DXD World, Underworld, 9:30 a.m. The faction leaders were discussing the events that have been happening so far. The attacks are becoming common as their main goal was still unknown, as they were trying to release their allies that had been imprisoned by the factions with a lot of work and tenacity that they had taken. Anything about Hades and Nyx? Zeus grew with a frustrated sigh. It was not enough that Hades and Nyx went completely missing. Worse, his entire domain has cut all ties with them and refuses to do anything for the Alliance. Nothing, they just vanished without a trace, and not just them, even Great Red and Office left, leaving nothing else remaining, Azazel commented. But internally he also grew frustrated. They did so much for Office, and she went without any existence, Shemhazai also added. The last time we saw any of them was towards the dimensional gap. Upon this, we will be launching an investigation in that area. Shemhazai spoke his own words. As Shiva seemed concerned, he then responded. I doubt that would be wise, Shemhazai. There is a reason why Great Red and Office just went missing. Even then, traveling in the dimensional gap is dangerous. We need to be careful when we are investigating. Worse, Zeus added his own wisdom as Shiva shook his head in disappointment. He did not know what to say at this point. The god of destruction knew a few things. Ever since Issei and his family left, their problems have been increasing. Regardless, with what is happening, we must locate the two dragon gods. Them not being there is a massive problem. It is just that, in a day's time, not only did Hades and Nyx disappear along with their families, but also Great Rat and Office. They went without any trace left behind. Worse, even Issei has gone with them. No sooner did Azazel mention his name, many of the people present had frowns, while Shiva was wondering why did they have so much hatred for this boy. In his eyes, he will only believe it when he sees Issei's nature firsthand. The god of destruction and the disgrace of the Haida family have never met in person, but he has heard of stories of him, taking credit for the pillar's action and using it for himself, but he was not sure to believe it or not. He had a bad feeling that something would happen had he believed these stories or not. He looked at Zeus, seeing the frown on his face. He could only internally sigh in disappointment. And why do you bring him up? Zeus spoke in an annoyed tone while putting an emphasis on him, as Azazel spoke with a sigh. That is not what I meant. Even he is gone, along with Great Red and the rest. Think what this means, Lord Zeus. Zeus lost a bit of his annoyed nature and understood this. If Issei had started to work with them, it could pose a potential problem, keyword being potential. Neither of the people present saw Issei as a threat. He was too weak for that. He remained quiet since the mere mention of Issei's name would bring hatred, so it was pointless to tell them anyway. He looked at Azazel, who spoke after a deep thought. Look, I am only sending people for his rescue because Dee is the one who requested this. He cares for his brother despite what he has done to him. Otherwise, I could care less what happens to him. He is not our problem. Azazel spoke with a sigh as Shiva looked at him and spoke. You shouldn't talk about him like that, even if he is the supposed person you think of. Azazel. Azazel looked at him and calmed down. He then responded, I guess you are right, but the mere mention of his name gives me headaches. I am sorry for that. Shiva shook his head and spoke. I guess you should rest for a while. Instead of locating them, it would be wise to deal with the Chaos Brigade's revival. Shiva spoke, trying to change the topic of the situation as Yusaku spoke, adding her own words. Dai has been handling the situation so far. We have been diverting. The attacks have significantly reduced so far. That I guess works, but I doubt Ryzevim's goal is that simple. So far, he has released Kakabeel, but nothing else. He has been awfully quiet, and that is what concerns me. We don't know what he is going to do next. Serzex spoke seriously as the leaders remained silent, with Elmenhild added her words. I have put some defenses on Valerie Teeps. Her power must not fall into the hands of Rizavim. He could potentially be eyeing her power. You do that, Manhild, until we find any news of the missing people or the Neo-Cows Brigade. This meeting is now over. The leaders then teleported back to their respective factions, minus Ertzix, who was left behind. He had to relay the message to the rest of his fellow Satans and the Devil Council in the Kingdom of Arcadia. Several months later, Magic Academy, 9:30 a.m. Issei was watching the final list. He knew that this would show the ones that will be ready for the final examination. He was beside Nyx as the duo looked at the list on the screen looking for their names. Soon enough their names had shown up, with Issei and Nyx being at the top of the panel. They were selected for the final exam, which meant that they will be graduating relatively soon. Well, should I be damned, Nyx agreed in response. It has only been almost 2 years since they have been in this academy, and they already have been selected for the finals. And they were happy about this. I mean, we did some, if not a lot of progress in the recent years. Isn't that right? Nyx asked with a smile on her face as she remembered on issei creating 3 more keys of Project Honkai, as well as mastering a version-exclusive spell that only he can use without a problem, which even made Aqua amazed at what he is capable of. Let's at least ask when the examination will be taking place. Issei and Nyx were about to walk to the office when someone else had called them, which stopped them as a result. That won't be necessary. Issei and Nyx turned around to see Aqua standing behind them with a smile as she spoke. Well, congratulations to you two for being selected for the examinations. Aqua congratulated her 2 students as Issei responded with a smile. Thank you, Professor Arc. Aqua responded with a smile as she spoke. If you are wondering when your examinations will be taking place, it will be a day after the announcement, and there is not much to prepare. The examination is not like your typical paper and pen or even proctored examination like the other academies have. Then what are we in for? Issei asked Aquato, which she responded with a smile of her own. You will be fighting one of the people that the academy chooses, and there will be a time limit. You have one of 2 choices. Either you survive the battle or you defeat your opponent. I see. So any idea who will we battle? Aqua wagged her finger forward and spoke with a wink. Now that's a secret, my favorite pupil. The scion Nyx sighed in sadness as Issei spoke. I will leave you 2 be. I got some paperwork to complete. Issei walks out of the podium, leaving Issei and Nyx alone as they decided to head outside of the academy to meet up with Invictus. Scene change. Epheteria, Academy of Technology, 10:15 p.m. You 2 got selected? Invictus asked with a tone full of surprise, as Issei and Nyx nodded. He then continued, that is amazing. Congratulations, you 2. Thanks, Invictus. Nyx responded with a smile of her own. Soon enough, the 2 will be graduated from the academy, and they will be placed in the army. That is another reason why Invictus is working hard in the Academy of Technology, where he will be graduated soon enough. He wanted to join the army alongside Issei and Nyx when he would soon graduate. Anyways, Nyx, Issei will be in this academy once he is done with the examination. What about you? What will you do now? Nyx thought for a moment. As she spoke, I may train myself in magic even more. From what I heard from John, he told me about a war that took place at some sort of bug planet, right? Yes, he did. He told me about it, where most of these bugs have carcasses that even the highest artillery or even magic struggle to pierce. John also told me that he lost a lot of his companions in that war as well. I can't even imagine the grief of what he is going through. Invictus did not say anything. Both of them were right. The military years are known to change anyone that managed to survive the war that would affect them. Of course, there are idiots who will be known to charge recklessly or make life-threatening mistakes. But that is something that the military trains on a daily basis. It was compulsory for any citizen of Arcadia to have some level of military experience. Anyways, we should change the topic. Say, Invictus, you have any plans for the semester and examinations? Invictus looked at his issei and spoke. I was planning to design a small robotic device that has 360 vision and can scout towards any location. I see. Invictus then looked at Issei and responded. What about you, Issei? Have you done with your end of the examination? Yes. I have done with my 5th god key of Project Honkai. Issei summoned 2 gloves from his magic inventory and placed it forward as he spoke. Meet the grips of Tai Xuan. This allows me absolute control of any attack that would be aimed towards me. Like, for instance, if I were to use this, any opponent's attack can be deflected back towards the opponent itself. Additionally, I can also manipulate the attack and use the mana inside of it to increase my own vitality. In other words, this allows me to have absolute domination over any element I choose to control. Invictus was surprised by this. The gloves gave him a very eerie feeling of him, allowing him to manipulate any prospect of an attack. If he can do that, he will become a formidable ally to begin with. Juniper was right about him. He has massive potential and can do many things possible. Are there any limitations to this? Issei thought for a moment, as he responded, yes, if my opponent far eclipses me in terms of strength, Leakin for instance, then this wouldn't work. Aside from that, I would also need to have a reactive body. If I don't, then I will become vulnerable. Invictus nodded in understanding. He could easily become one of Arcadia's most formidable allies. It was already shown when he was able to effortlessly learn gravity magic and create the Star of Eden. The only people that knew about the Star of Eden were John, Rosemary, Juniper, Invictus, and finally Issei and the rest of his families. Black holes were dangerous, and that was something the ones who knew were aware of, which included even Invictus, as many wouldn't even survive a black hole. The fact that my best friend was able to put the aspect of domination into this new god key is really something, bestie. The one who spoke was Drake, as the boosted gear manifested in the form of a gem on the grips of Tai Xuan. It was a specialized mode of the boosted gear that allowed him to use both his gear and the grips of Tai Xuan at the same time. The only difference is that the boosted gear had a fiery orange color scheme instead of the usual red-colored scheme. In a while, Dreg thought you would be sleeping like you mostly do for these lectures. Dreg sighed as he spoke. Can't help it. Advanced fire magic is not my type. I learned most of my magic when I was alive. Besides, I can see any memories my partner has, so it is not a problem for me. Lazy-ass dragon, Nyx muttered underneath her breath, preventing anyone from listening to his words as Invictus spoke. Say, Dreg, are you not interested in roaming outside the world to roam the skies like Great Red or Office do? From what I hear, they are almost reaching the top of the dragons present there. Even their leader is happy with the 2 new people in the Kingdom of Dragons. I prefer staying with Issei and Nyx, and I am not in a mood to be freed, for now at least. Drake added his own words. As Invictus nodded in agreement, Invictus then spoke. So Issei, you come from a planet named Earth, right? There are many Earths in Arcadian space. So which Earth do you come from? Like a number or something you can state. There is no number. I had spoken to the Empress days before, and my Earth was considered unidentified, or was light years away from Arcadia. Nyx nodded in agreement, as she added her own words. Not only that, the fact that we managed to even reach Arcadia was by sheer chance, but also our Earth does not have that good space travel like many of the Earths here do. You never intended to come here. Both Issei and Nyx shook their heads in response as Issei spoke. No, we never did. If anything, stories of Arcadia were just a red herring. Considering the only person that did somehow hear of them was Great Red, that's it. We never actually wanted to come here. I see. Invictus spoke with a tone of surprise. The fact that I'm meeting his 2 friends right now was just sheer coincidence. He never actually would have met Issei or Nyx had they not come to here or chose to come here. So what is it like? Your home? Issei responded with a sigh. It was not the best to say the least, had my ups and downs, and I managed to get out of a really rough situation. That is all I wished to say. Invictus nodded. He decided to not ask anything personal since this would increase Issei's negative emotion, something he decided not to do in any way. He knew Issei had a rough life since he refused to talk about his past to anyone. Even Nyx decided to not share her past to Invictus. He could only hope that he comes to know more about his past as time passes by. Anyways, Nix, I have a suggestion. You can head to the Kingdom of Deathless to perform some work there. Nix was familiar with the Deathless as Invictus speaks. You know who the Deathless are, right? I do. The Deathless are a biologically engineered immortal species that inhabit the world of Arcadia. They have their own land in the continent. A Deathless can be physically humanoid or a different creature. Deathless individuals possess the ability to transfer their kips, or souls, into new bodies when they die. Some Deathless are known to maintain rebirth chambers where they can be reborn after death. Indeed, and Galeth Ark is the father of the Deathless and the worker of secrets. He is known to be the only one capable of destroying the Deathless if he so wants to, using the kip's destabilization. Also, the Infinity Blade created by him can actually kill the Deathless, denying them any body to return to. Nix continued the last part as issei nodded. He then remembered an encounter with Galeth Ark flashback, 2 months ago. Issei was walking from his academy back to his dorm. As he did so, he could feel a harrowing presence that made him shiver for a moment. However, once he was familiar with it, he no longer felt fear. Not bad, you don't fear my aura, just like a dragon should not. You are strong. Issei turned around to see a man whose stature and look is giving off an intimidating appearance. He has black hair and bright gold eyes. He wears black robes that have gold ornaments all over him, especially in his chest where it resembles a necklace. He walked towards Issei, with the latter being confused seeing who he is. It seems like you don't know me, young man. My name is Galeth Ark, the father of Deathless. It is finally nice to meet the wielder of the flames that can destroy souls. Galeth spoke with a serious and deep tone, which made Issei a bit nervous, although he stood fearless in front of the Deathless, something that amused Galeth. I see. So what brings you here, Galeth? Galeth took a deep breath and responded in an honest tone. The flames that you wield, I wish to know, is it true that you can destroy the souls of even gods? Yes. But these flames are not mine. They belong to my best friend, Dreg. He was the one that taught me. Galeth nodded in understanding as he speaks, the Welsh dragon. Yes, Galeth. Him right now, he is sleeping, so I don't think he can speak to you at the moment. Galeth nodded in understanding as he spoke. I see. So from what I hear, only a select few beings can survive these flames. Right, yes. They are Ophis, Great Red, and Dreg's rival. Albion. Galeth was familiar with the first two, but he had no clue who this rival was, that being Albion. Albion? Issei nodded in response as he spoke. Yes, like Dreg, he also possessed something that can destroy souls. Galeth nodded. He became serious as he did not know who this Albion was and if he was a threat that could hurt Arcadia in any way. He then spoke with a serious and commanding tone. Tell me more, young man. It's called Reduce. It is a unique blend of venom that is capable of reducing the existence of all organic matter, including gods. Even their souls are cut down bit by bit. Galeth seemed to be concerned for this Albion, as he soon asked, is the limitation same as with Albion as it is with Drag? Yes. Galeth seemed to calm down a bit, so if this Albion does become a problem, then he can still be dealt with. He looked at issei and spoke. I have also heard of your other achievements, young man. Not many have such a talent like you do. You should be proud of yourself. Issei was surprised that another of the High Council members is also praising him as he spoke. Thank you, Galeth. Galeth gave a smile in response as he spoke. I will be taking my leave. We will meet again soon. Hi, do I see? Issei nodded as Galeth left the scene. Soon enough Issei walked towards his house as he did. Today was really something else. He had a run-in with the leader of the Deathless. Flashback ends. Issei sighed as he understood the incident that had happened 2 months ago. At this point, the Arcs are familiar with Albion as well. Although he did tell them like Drag, Albion was also sealed. He did not tell them that the current host was Valerie Lucifer, as Issei was not asked about the current wielder since the Arcs had no reason to know about them. They were not interested, but Issei was asked. He would let them know who the current wielder is. Regardless, I will consider working with Galeth, but I am not sure if I can get his contact across. Maybe I will try once I am done with my examination and military service. Nix responded with a smile as issei nodded in understanding. Galith then spoke. You should do that, anyways, issei. We have mobile computing as our next subject. We should probably get going. Issei looked at Nix, who responded with a smile as she muttered, I'll be waiting. Issei nodded in understanding as he soon walked with Invictus as the duo headed to the class to study the subject. Nix decided to head back home to prepare for the magic examination. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Chibi Invictus almost killing Chibi Surtsix, while Chibi Issei records the scene as he watches him suffer. The next day, Magic Academy, 10:30 p.m. Issei and Nix were standing in the field getting ready for their examination. They had worn their traditional clothing, which was a specialized tracksuit that managed their body and had a meter that would show whether the student can still continue to fight or not. The tracksuit in itself was blue in color with several patterns depicting circular slots that had a glow in it, indicating that the fighting would begin soon enough. I hope the two of you are ready. Aqua spoke, ready to give her favorite students the final lesson as she spoke. Just remember, you will be monitored using the suits, so if you cannot continue, it will be fine. You can always attempt again, issei, Nix. Issei and Nix nodded as they both went inside. Aqua had a smile as she spoke. I hope you are ready for your final test, Issei-kun. You will be in for a surprise. Issei and Nix went inside the dark room where they were greeted by Chisato as she spoke with a smile. You too, the person that has been present for your final test has been. She has appeared. I wish you two all the best. Issei and Nix remembering the time she last saw them. They were prodigies. It was almost 2 years since they were in this academy, and now they are graduating. She had taught them some subjects, and will be a bit saddened to see her topmost students leave. But she was more happy that they will soon provide massive service to Arcadia. These two have already made Arcadia their home at this point. Issei and Nix walked ahead as they looked at the one that was waiting for them. She wore a cloak as she spoke with a smile. Good, I have been waiting for you. Issei recognized the voice and became pale. He knew who this person was. She revealed herself by removing her hood, which even made Nix surprised. They never thought they would be the final person that Issei and Nix would be facing. It was Inrin and had a smile on her face. Her smile was gentle, but to Issei it seemed like a predator was staring down at them. He definitely respected, cared, and feared him. She was like a mentor to him, who not only honed his sword skills to the max, but also taught him magic and some of Kyugane's customs to him. I hope you two are ready for your graduation examination, and spoke with a smile as she took off in the air and gained some distance. Soon enough, the lights of the room started revealing a battlefield as Issei looked to see people watching the fight in the stadiums. Issei knew about graduation examinations being stadium battles, but he never expected the audience to be surprisingly high, although there was some other person that gathered his attention. Even the Empress herself was watching the graduation examinations. However, someone else was watching as well. It was Willow Schnee. So you came back, Willow? Willow walked towards Juniper as she spoke. Never thought you would come for the graduation. How could I miss my students' graduation fight? I'd say considering their opponent, the duo have their work cut out of them, Willow responded with a smile, remembering and was the one that was their final opponent if they have to win their graduation. She was one of the big three, and even if she does not wear them Klun rings, she is still a force to be reckoned with. Indeed, Nix and Issei have their work cut out for them. If they have to survive her, they will have to give their utmost strength. I just hope he doesn't have to use that, Juniper mutters the last part. If Issei reveals the usage of the Star of Eden, or even his fourth god key, the Black Abyss White Flower, which was made by using the creation magic and destruction magic, this could cause a lot of problems as well, especially now that the Black Arms have been awfully silent, meaning they must be planning something. The match soon reveals a timer on the screen, a countdown of 30 minutes as the announcer made an announcement. Everyone, we are here for the graduation examination that is happening between the famous Red Dragon Emperor and the Goddess of Darkness against Lady Inrin of the Rin clan in the Kingdom of Kuganese. Felt a bit annoyed by the amount of attention he was gaining, but he sighed knowing that he made quite the name for himself recently with being one of the most prodigious students so far. Issei could see in having a smile as Issei nodded he was not going to back away from the fight. As he looked at Nyx, both of whom were having serious expressions, they wondered whether they will be working as a team or they will be working separately. The two of you will be working as a team. You will have 30 minutes to beat or survive against your opponent. If you can perform either of the feats, you will be declared a winner. Nyx then spoke to his issei. Well, that answers that. And let the battle begin. The announcer spoke moments later with the countdown starting as the two got ready to fight, and then exclaimed with happiness, "Give me the best shot, you two." 29:59. Then got into her stance. Issei knew this was wind stance as she unleashed several wind slashes aimed at Issei and Nyx. Issei and Nyx jumped up, which avoided them with ease and followed up with a dash towards Nyx. She knew the weakest link of the team. Nyx looked in surprise as she turned into a being full of darkness. She easily evaded a sword slash aimed at her throat. Nyx tried to ambush her, but had prepared for that, she used light stance, with which she attacked the darkness puddle Nyx was in, forcing her out of it. She followed up with another strike, however it was blocked by issei, who had his Excalibur in his hands. He pushed in behind as he got into her stance. 28:55. You okay? Nyx nodded as she unleashed some dark tendrils as Issei started to run by the tendrils. He dashed towards and who blocked it with her own strikes. Issei followed up with a fire stance. While slow, he knew upon close range it could possess destructive abilities. And was quick in response. She managed to block the attacks by using her stance. She was proud on how Issei was able to land the strikes. Issei followed up by jumping in the air, letting the tendrils strike with which she blocked with ease. As she did so, she dashed towards Issei, landing a few forward slashes with which Issei was able to block. Using her whack as Ashi, she landed a strike aimed at Issei's chest as he blocked it with a familiar revolver, which many recognized to be the one of the Judgment of Shamash. They both separated as Issei twirled his gun. He started to aim the shots towards him, who was trying to dodge the intense lava-based fireballs from the Judgment of Shamash. She used ice stance to freeze the lava balls as Nyx spoke. I have a plan. This will take a lot out of me, so you will need to cover me. Issei looked at her and nodded and seemed to be distracted dealing with the Judgment of Shamash. He continued to fire at her who was starting to deflect the slashes. She could feel the heat on her skin, even from a distance knowing what this meant. If she gets hit by those fireballs, this could pose a massive problem. 25:30. And was quick and elusive. She knew what she had to do. She dashed towards Issei as Issei was ready to block upslash from her. However, when he did so, he saw that it was a mere afterimage. He widened his eyes in horror as he saw him going after Nyx, who was preparing a spell. Nyx was shocked at this and was ready to use Void Stance on Nyx. Issei then shouted, I am not going to let that happen. Issei's hand glowed a bright purple in color as he started to increase the gravity on En's legs and hands, which made her slow her moment, but it only lasted for a mere second. This was more than enough for Issei to act upon as he blitzed towards En, ready to strike her, which she dodged. Now that is some skill in gravity magic, good job. And commented the fact Issei was able to quickly defend his ally by aiming at certain points of her body. Issei nodded in agreement as Nyx exclaimed, It is ready. Nyx unleashed a blanket of darkness which covered up the entire stadium. It seemed to be completely dark with only issei and Nyx being able to have vision in their area. Issei remembered this spell to be the same spell that she had used when she had kidnapped Ingold all those months ago. However, this was much stronger than before, as Nyx spoke the spell Darkness Night of the Black Sky. 2300 hours. Meanwhile, with the audience, they were stunned by the goddess's control over this level of magic, with Juniper and Willow smiling, seeing how the situation was turning on. These two are prodigies, something that this generation is very familiar with, especially with the 1-5. So what do you think, Willow? Willow gave a smile of approval as she spoke. He managed to learn gravity magic, that is one of the high-ranking magics. How did he learn it so fast? Willow remembered by what gravity magic is known to do. Even the high-ranking mages take months of basic learning and years to master, while Lys did so in just a few days to learn the basics, while he managed to master them in a few weeks. He really is something, Willow. I told you he possesses the highest potential that Arcadia has potentially ever seen. He could even reach our level if he is trained properly and justly. Willow nodded in agreement. She was proud of her student. As they were watching, someone else had called them Auntie Willow, Auntie Juniper. The two turned around to see a brown-haired girl with brown eyes. She was wearing a samurai armor. Juniper then spoke. Ah, Shu, here to see the match between your mother and her student along with his friend. The now identified Shu gave a nod as she spoke her own words of interest. Indeed, I have heard of their skills, and it seems like I will be seeing them. Right. Indeed, right now things are going to get intense. Willow spoke with a smile as she looked at the match between the three as she took a seat as she watched the match with interest. Thanks to advanced technology in Arcadia, they are able to get a better viewing of the match. Back at the fight, Issei entered into his balance breaker state, which significantly increased his powers and abilities as Nyx commanded the knight to release several magic energy blasts, composed of darkness energy, which Yin was able to evade. Despite having her vision reduced, she still was able to sense them and dodge them thanks to her superior training, and was able to use some magic to illuminate her surroundings. She knew that she was in some sort of domain field, which would make her struggle. But she did not mind. She knew she was strong enough to keep up with the two of them. She was ambushed by the left from his side. Since her vision space was limited, she was forced to block. The two followed up with rapid-fire strikes, each aiming for their weak points. Issei also kept evading whenever the darkness magic blasts were class B, as Yin would get hit, which Yin was able to dodge. She noted the two were working in synergy, which made her smile. Their teamwork is something that showed what they are capable of. Just as she managed to land, she was hit by a greenish-red beam aimed towards her, which she was able to block by using Earth Stance, which blocked it completely. She knew that it was Issei's beam blast, courtesy of his balance breaker. 1959. Not bad, truly incredible synergy you two possess, and muttered proud of her students and her friends' powers and abilities. Not even the high-ranking samurais would have kept up with this level of training these two possessed. She subsequently dodged a field of darkness eruption courtesy of Nyx, while Issei used several elemental magic circles, comprising of dragon fire, water, and electricity to stroke in, which she was also able to dodge, and was elusive. Years and years of training made her into one of the strongest Arcadians of all time. She saw how destructive the magic strikes were. Some more darkness magic was also aimed at her, which she blocked it with ease. She knew that this field was getting annoying. There was only one way she could defeat this team or break this level of synergy, and had to find a location where she was hiding. The primordial goddess was able to use darkness to completely blanket herself, making her close to undetectable. She even managed to hide the glow of her eyes. She could only see Issei, and he was constantly finding blind spots to attack in. 1630, and looked at the timer. They were almost halfway time as Issei aimed an Excalibur blade slash aimed at her, which was revealed to be Issei's own void stance, and was able to block every single stance aimed at her. She struggled to do so, as she noted that Issei's void stance had become much faster than the last training session. Despite this, she managed to pull it off. She responded with a kick to his stomach, sending him behind. As she scanned for Nyx's hidden spot, she eventually found or assumed to find out where she was. She dashed to that location as Issei managed to try and intercept her using fire stance. I knew she was there and was quick as she used light stance aiming at Issei. As he took severe damage, Issei gritted in pain as it was a combination of both swordsmanship and magic. It allowed you to engulf the blade with magical effects such as increased strength and speed, delivering powerful strikes towards your opponents. Issei was able to block some of the strikes as in once again used the after-image trick again as she aimed at Nyx, who was maintaining the field, but she now had to defend herself from the attack. She had either two choices. 1. She could either maintain the field or create a magic barrier to protect herself. Just as she was about to change her mind, Issei dashed towards her and was ready to use Dark Stance to quickly end the fight. She knew the suits will protect them. However, just as she was ready to aim at Nyx, Nyx put her hands to generate a barrier. Issei came forward them and blocked the attack, creating a massive explosion. Issei Nyx shouted in horror as in thought in horror, I hope I did not overdo it. They knew that the suits would protect them from any fatal wounds, but she hoped that she did not damage her student too much. However, just as she was about to contemplate, a huge burst of aura exploded into the area which caught everyone's attention. When the dust settled, the armor looked like the regular balance breaker. However, it looked slightly different. It was more draconic and more detailed, with armor being more hardened and much stronger than before, and backed away with instinct as she got some distance towards issei and Nyx. She clearly failed her first assault. Issei's armor glowed with even more aura as Nyx asked with worry, "Are you okay?" "I am fine, Nyx. We have a fight to win," and was quiet at first, but she soon smiled. "So this is your next stage in your balance breaker, isn't it? I guess I have never seen this armor before. All I know is that this is the first time I have seen this armor." Drake added his words as he responded. "Indeed, your new armor is the strongest and the full power of the boosted gear. This is it. I theorize that this armor can even take down God-class beings from your world without a problem." Greg muttered to issei, only letting issei and Nyx hear of it. "All right. Then issei, show me what you have got," and smiled as issei blitzed with the sword in his hand. As she blocked it, she noticed that issei has become much faster than when he was in his regular balance breaker. 759. The audience were amazed by this new armor of issei, especially Shu, Juniper and Willow, as Juniper spoke with a smile. "You never cease to surprise me, issei." Both Juniper and Willow were worried when Essie took a point-blank dark strike. As Essie was able to survive that, they were even more surprised by this level of power that was shown by Essie. Even Shu seemed amazed by what Essie was capable of. No wonder her mother took interest in Essie. "He really is something, isn't he?" Shu spoke with amazement as Willow added her own words with her speaking. "That is my student, Shu. He is one of the strongest students Arcadia has to ever offer." Back at the fight and blocked another strike from issei, which was much faster. Boost was constantly being heard throughout the match, which doubled his strength, speed, and stamina. Issei was a relentless fighter, and he did not stop at all costs. Nyx even doubled down her darkness blasts, as in struggled to deal with the two at the same time, ironing distance and used void stance at issei. However, he was able to block all of the attacks relatively quickly, which he was not able to do during his first time training with him. Given his massive improvement, she couldn't help but give a proud smile. Few cannons generated from issei's back as he aimed a much stronger and quicker beam, as in struggled to block the attack, as she took a massive blast from the attack, and gritted her teeth in pain, knowing that she should have dodged the attack instead of blocking it. The beam caused an explosion, as the audience knew and can't be defeated by that attack. As the dust settled and was alive, she was barely even damaged. She used an aura technique to heal herself, however her clothing was slightly damaged and grazed. "The job, issei, Nyx, you two have clearly improved a lot, but it is not going to be enough for you two to defeat me in any way," and charged another light strike at issei. As he blocked it with ease, due to his now new armor, he became much more faster and stronger, as he followed up with a kick sending her behind as she saw the timer. 159. Just a little bit longer, and muttered underneath her breath. She knew that holding back was pointless as she sensed another darkness eruption, courtesy of Nyx, as issei fired up using Welsh Dragon Flares, which was stronger than ever, and used Ice Strike to freeze the flames while she dodged the attack with ease. She jumped in the air as she used her light vision to sense where issei and Nyx were. She could see Nyx, however. Issei jumped to her location and did an upward slash. Then blocked by the strike. As she dashed towards issei aiming a strike, he blocked it with ease, using Earth Stance. She followed it up with Fire Stance as she aimed at his vital points. The armor was slightly grazed, unlike last time where it was damaged, and smiled in happiness as she spoke. "Shall we end this?" Issei turned to Nyx as she gave a nod. Issei then responded with a smile of his own. "Let's end this." Issei's and his swords glowed brightly with magic as they both decided to use their light stances, which would end the fight. As they dashed towards each other, they were ready to deal the final strike. Nyx fired her darkness magic blasted her, also ready to end the fight. However, the bell rang, stopping them dead in their tracks. They all looked up at the screen as it only showed one time. 0 o'clock. The match is finally over. Issei Haidu and Nyx have passed the graduation examination with flying colors. Please a round of applause and cheers for both of them, the announcer announced with happiness. As many clapped and cheered for them, the darkness field was gone, causing Nyx to fall to the ground in exhaustion. She had a tough time maintaining the field and constantly attacking him with her darkness. Issei rushed to her, powered down, and spoke with concern. You okay? Nyx nodded and gave him a smile as she spoke. We did it, Ice. Indeed we did, Nyx, and soon approached the two and spoke. Good job, Essie. Nyx, you two have finally graduated. Take some rest because you need to be ready for your graduation. Thanks, and I hope I didn't hurt you too much with that beam blast, and shook her head as she responded, Nonsense. I have taken more than what you threw at me and survived. I'll be fine, you needn't worry. Issei looked at her and gave a nod as they took a breather for a while. This match was quite exhausting. Back at the audience, the trio were also overjoyed by Issei's success. He had graduated with flying colors. As Shu spoke, to think he was able to injure Mother, that boy is really something. Shu spoke with a smile, as Juniper spoke with a smile of her own. I told you he is really something. That's my student. I can't wait to see the look of his face when he comes to know that I have come back. Willow spoke as Juniper responded with a surprised tone. You did not tell him. I thought it'd be nice to keep it a surprise. You should contact his family. Let him know he has graduated with flying colors. Willow spoke with a smile as Juniper nodded and proceeded to do the same. Chapter 10. Graduation Ceremony. Issei and Nyx were resting in their rooms. As they looked at the screen depicting their fight, they could see how they were able to push him back. Despite her being one of the big three, they knew what they did would be noticed by many, some wanting to use his powers for harm. Issei turned his attention to Nyx, who spoke with a smile. Do you ever regret coming here? No. Not at all. My life has been better ever since I have come here. If anything, I have been forgetting what was going on back home. Speaking of which, do you wonder that I would have been exposed? I mean, almost 2 years have passed. Nyx shook her head and responded. I doubt it. You managed to clear most of the threats for them, and now they must be partying all day. Your ex-brother must be bucking his harem full day and night, not caring for what is going on. Issei looked at her, and she nodded. She understood that the factions had become dogs of him more or less. At this point she could care less if anything happened to them or not. Anyways, forget about them. We came here to start a new life. Right, Nyx? Nyx looked at him and spoke with a smile. Yes, we have. As they were waiting for their name to be called, someone else came inside the room, as it was revealed to be Persephone, Hades, and their 2 daughters. Persephone then rushed to him while hugging him. Congratulations, Ice-chan, for your graduation. Issei happily accepted her hug, as he responded, Thanks, Persephone. Hades, along with Mercaria and Melina, walked towards Issei and gave their own words of congratulations. Well, what can I say? You managed to impress us all. None of us have graduated in 2 years. Not even any Arcadian has graduated in less than that time, except for a few, but you two managed to do it. Hades spoke words of gratitude as Persephone added her own words. That is my Ice-chan. He is capable of performing a lot of great feats. Even Nyx did so much better. Indeed, Issei and Nyx blushed on the compliments they were receiving as he spoke with a blushing smile. Thanks, Hades, Persephone. Regardless, we gotta celebrate your success, Ice, Nyx Melino added cheerfully as Mercaria added her own words. Indeed, we should probably go out for dinner. What do you guys say? Sure. I wouldn't mind. Besides, it's been a while since I have had outside food. Persephone nodded in agreement as she separated from Issei. She then spoke. We can probably have a celebratory party, so let's all head to the nearby 7-star restaurant for that. The others nodded in agreement as an announcement happened, and Issei Hayato and Nyx head to the graduation hall as soon as possible to take their graduation certificates. Issei and Nyx looked at each other as Persephone spoke. Not so fast, you two. You need to look presentable. Persephone spoke with a smile as Issei and Nyx wondered how they will be looking for their graduation. The graduation ceremony had just begun as many of the guests had shown up, even those that Issei has bonded with, like Jade, Aqua, Olivia, Rosemary from the Arc Sisters. John was also present for the graduation, along with Shu. Olivia was described to be a beautiful woman having light blonde hair with a tiara. She had blue eyes and wore a white sleeveless dress that extended all the way till her upper thighs. She wore a navy blue cape that was overflowing. Additionally, she wore a white boots that reached below her knee. Her dress also had a significant pattern, with it seemingly having dragon scales, along with having a small oval design pattern towards the lower side of her dress. Her cape was bound to her dress as well. Along with her, the Empress Juniper along with Galeth, Liam and Julius, and finally Issei's mentors Willow, Shneen and Enren. They were also joined in with Hades and Persephone, along with Melano and Macaria. Office and Great Rat are also present, the latter being in a miniature form. This also included Invictus, who was present for their graduation. Persephone, where is Issei and Nyx? Willow asked with a tone as Persephone responded with a smile, Don't worry, I have given them a slight makeover. The two soon come in, with well-trimmed hair and a decent jeans, as well he a cape, he wore a white shirt. This was Issei Hayadu. Additionally, he also wore a black hat and cape. Nyx, meanwhile, wore a beautiful red sleeveless dress. She wore heels and had her hair left out in the open. She, like Issei, also wore a cape and black hat. They both had been prepared for their graduation. So the man and woman of the hour are here. Took your sweet time, John commented with a sly grin, causing Issei to chuckle. Persephone does not hold back when it comes to dressing us up. Indeed, she made sure we were ready for our graduations. Nyx added her own words, as Persephone chuckled, Well, duh, today is a big event for you guys, of course, you need to be properly dressed for it. Although, I would say that you took it one step further, it seems like both of you are ready for this. Hades commented, to which Melano spoke with a smile, It seems like our little brother is graduating. I am excited for my graduation too. I wonder when will it happen. Macaria added as Juniper spoke with a smile, You two must be patient, your term is already going to end, so I expect you to perform well in your examinations. The daughters of Hades nodded in acceptance. As Hades and Persephone were also graduating soon enough, they will all be heading for the army before they can have their careers elsewhere. They have some plans of heading to the kingdom of the undead. Nyx decided to head to the kingdom of the deathless. As for the two of you, I hope you are ready. Juniper looked at Issei and Nyx, who nodded as they both headed to the center stage. Aqua soon took the microphone and announced, All right, everyone. Tonight is a special night. Two graduates, Issei, Haydu and Nyx, will give some words. These two have graduated way before the duration itself. They have graduated before the 3-year lifespan that most students graduate, and please give them a round of applause. The audience applauded and cheered for Issei and Nyx, as Essie took to the stage and spoke. Well, the time at the Magic Academy has been the best time I have had so far. Truth be told, it was nice to be at a place that did not have so much anger and hatred. Essie's words made those from his world sad, knowing why he said that. Others did not understand what it meant, meaning that he did not want to remember his past. Those that were close to him often remembered that he often was dismissive when his past was brought about. Anyways, we are getting off track. All I want to say is that this academy has helped me a lot in learning magic, making my learning of magic really a truly enlightening and amazing experience for me and many others, that is. However, I wouldn't have gotten this far without guidance from Professor Aqua Arc, my mentors in Rin and Weloshni, the Empress Juniper Arc for supporting me in my dreams, John and Olivia Arc for helping me settle in, and finally my lab mentor Jade Arc. Issei then continued after taking a deep breath with him, continuing, Additionally, I would also like to thank my family for supporting and helping me throughout this journey. I would thank all for their help and support. If it was not for them, I would not have been getting this far. So thank you to all of them. The ones mentioned smiled at this, with Nyx and Persephone beaming the most. Issei already sees them as family. The others mentioned were happy that Issei was considering them, as they did not expect Issei to revere them so much. Just like he cherished them, they cherished him as well. That is all I have to say. Thank you for this experience. Issei soon looked at the audience who were clapping and cheering for him. This was an experience he never properly experienced due to the amount of hatred people had for him in the old world. He gave a smile and walked down the stairs as Nyx followed up. The crowd cheered and clapped for her as she came to the stage. Greetings everyone, I am not going to keep it long since Issei spoke what I had to speak, but I will add a few words of my own. I am not going to lie without the support of my family and loved ones. I wouldn't even be here, they helped me with their problems and issues with magic. I personally learned from Issei, so without him, I wouldn't even be here. Nyx spoke her own words as Issei gave a small smile to her. She then continued. Additionally, I also must thank my mentor, Professor Aqua Arc, for helping me through this journey, and if it was not for her, I also would have a much harder time in the academy along with Jean Arc and Olivia Arc for guiding us, as well as Empress Juniper Arc for helping me with the problem I personally faced, and thank you all for being by my side for this journey. Nyx spoke with a cheerful smile as her family, and the ones mentioned also were happy by this reveal as Nyx spoke. Well, I have nothing left to say. Thank you for everything. Nyx spoke with a smile as she walked away from the microphone as Aqua spoke. Now the two of you will all be having your graduation certificates. Aqua walked forward and gave the graduation certificates to them. As they looked at them, it showed their proof of them officially graduating and becoming proper magicians. Issei and Nyx soon threw their caps in the air as everyone cheered and clapped for them. Both were overjoyed by their passage at the academy. Hey, Hades. Hades looked at Persephone who asked, Ice-chan is happier, right? Truth be told, I have never seen him this happy. His old home will be nothing short of a memory, and soon enough, I think he will forget them. Yeah, darling, I hope this happens, Persephone adds her own words, seeing how overjoyed Issei was, along with his family. Soon enough, the group all decided to celebrate their graduation with full esteem and happiness. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Chibi Issei Learning Chaos Magic. A few weeks later, Issei's dorm, 9:30 a.m. Issei was seated inside of his dorm while he was done with his Magic Academy training. He had his Academy of Technology remaining. It still had 1.5 years remaining. He had just woken up from a very dangerous nightmare, or more accurately, a premonition for the past few days. But of what? The premonition was some sort of what will happen to his life in Arcadia. It was the beginning of a dreadful series of events that would change his life. He was horrified to see that a man with white hair along with the Emperor of Arcadia, Nicholas Arc himself. He did not believe what he was seeing that would change everything. He decided to contact Great Red. When he did, Great Red told him that was his future sight. This was a specialized magic spell that works passively. There is a chance on what he might be seeing is true, however, as Great Red told him. The future is not set in stone, hatchling. It can change as time passes. Although there is a chance it may be true, there is a chance it may not be true. So be careful with what you do, I say, was in his thoughts. When Nyx soon came inside, while the dorm was theirs, she may not be able to stay in it for much longer, due to her almost past graduating, and she may be kicked out. There has been no pressure of eviction, but sooner or later it may come, due to new candidates appearing for the academy studies. Pain Nyx, Asil spoke with a smile as she returned with a smile of her own. Soon her smile had faded out as she asked, Is something wrong, Ice? Nothing much, Asil spoke while adding a fake smile as he spoke. I wonder what is our next plan from here on out. Juniper spoke to Galeth, and he accepted me in the kingdom of Deathless. I will be working under him for days. 2. You are done with your studies. Nyx spoke with a sad smile as Essie responds. That is amazing. Essie spoke with happiness. I am so happy for you, Issei exclaimed with happiness as he embraced her, making her blush. He soon separated from her as her expression soon turned away. But I won't be seeing you for a while, is that all right? Issei shook his head and spoke. You have a carrier of your own in this place. You can't give up an opportunity like this. He has accepted you in this place. The kingdom of Deathless is a place where only a select few chosen can work. The fact that he chose you speaks volumes. You should take up the offer, Nyx. You can learn a lot from the Deathless Nyx. Nyx looked at him for a moment, and soon gave a smile. She knew that opportunities like these won't appear again in her life. She then spoke. I guess you are right, Nyx added as she continued. It's just that I haven't been away from you for that long, so I am uncertain how will it go. Just give me a call or any of us, and we will be there, I promise you that. Nix. And you know I have always kept my promises one way or another, right? Issei spoke with a smile as Nix looked at him, and nodded. She knew that he will keep his promise one way or another. I see, thanks. Nix spoke with a tone of genuine gratitude as she soon remembered his worried expression as she asked, although, earlier, why were you so concerned? What was that about? It's nothing, just had a premonition. Issei spoke with a sigh as Nix responded. About what? I am not sure. It stated about the fact I had a very bad dream of the Emperor betraying the Empress. She was very heartbroken in the vision. While I watched her weep, she was completely broken, while I remained helpless seeing her devastated. Soon my vision started to change into a full-scale war in Arcadia where several have died. I could see men and women dressed in army attire wiping out several civilians. It was a massacre. Nix widened her eyes in shock and horror. The vision which Issei had, she couldn't believe the Emperor would betray his wife like that. She had seen how much they loved each other. Sure, they disagreed on some things, but the love was true to be regardless. Issei, what you are saying is prosperous. I don't think the Emperor, Sir Nicholas, is that type of a person. Nix spoke with utter disbelief. As Issei agreed to her, I know, that is why I contacted Great Red about this. He told me that there is a chance this future might happen. However, I don't believe this too. What should I do then? Issei added as he continued, furthermore, Great Red warned me to be very careful with what I do next. The vision I have has a chance that it can work. If Nicholas does come to know of this, then even I don't know what can happen. Nix nodded in understanding, the duo only hoping that he does not turn to traitor to them. Both had their fair share of having traitors, with Issei having to deal with several from both his school life and the supernatural world, including his own birth family. Nix had to deal with her own brother Erebus abandoning her. She only hoped that it was not true. I think you should talk about this to the Empress. Tell her your troubles, since hiding it will only cause more problems. Nai suggested to Issei, to which he responded, I am not sure, Nix. I don't want to hurt the feeling the Empress has, and I am not sure how she will even react to my visions. Nix looked at Issei, understanding his doubt as she spoke with an assuring smile. You should tell her, since hiding it will only make things worse. Nix then continued, at this point, the Empress has trust in you. No, she completely has faith in you. You can tell her your problems you are facing. She will help you in that regard. I mean, you have faith in her, don't you? Issei remembered on how the Empress and her children have helped him. They supported him and brought him to newer heights, areas that he never would have reached, had it not been for them guiding him. Had he been there in his old world, he highly doubted things would have been better for him. He would be nothing but a rotting mess of his former self. He shook his head. Arcadia is not and will never be like the factions. I guess you are right. Maybe I will tell her about it, but for now, I think I will lay low. My research has almost been completed. Issei showed her a small magic circle. This is analysis magic, Issei spoke as he responded. I have spent months, if not years, in research, in order to create and master this magic spell. It works similar to Kankara formula, courtesy of Ajuka. However, unlike Kankara formula, it not only allows me to absorb the attack, but also controls and replicates the said attack and returns it back to the attacker. However, that is not at all what it is capable of. Like, if I have memory of how the magic circle looks, I can replicate the magic and use it against my foes. Issei explained, making Nix awed by this as she spoke. This is amazing. Issei dispelled the circle as he continued. Yeah. Although it needs work, I can still make it work. Nix nodded as soon enough. Someone called her on her scroll as she spoke. Yes. Yeah. I am on my way. Nix looked at Issei and spoke. I will be heading to the kingdom now. Galoth will directly take me there, so this is goodbye for now. Nix kissed Issei on the cheek and spoke with a gentle tone. We will meet again, Ice. Nix soon got down and headed down to the door as he spoke. Yeah. The two embraced each other, knowing that they won't be seeing each other for a while. As they waved their goodbyes, the primordial goddess soon went downstairs and greeted Galoth. As they both headed to the Kingdom of Darkness, Issei went back inside his dorm, now all alone for a while, and lied down on the bed. Well, now only that remains my technological courses from the academy, and then I will be in military for a year. Issei summoned his boosted gear and spoke. So, you excited for the military? Drake responded with a smile. I am, but the military is going to change you permanently, partner. I know well, let's see what happens next anyway. Issei spoke with a sigh. He knew he would be telling Juniper soon enough, as he decided to contact Juniper about the visions he had. He also called Great Red to help him explain properly to them as well, along with Willow and Unseen Change. Essie's dorm, 3:30 p.m. Essie was present amongst the Empress, Willow, and then finally Great Red. Essie wanted to speak to them on the visions he has been receiving. Issei came out clean as he spoke. These are the visions I have been receiving for the past few days. I am not sure, but the Emperor will betray you. Issei spoke sadly and with complete apprehension. He did not know how to say this, as he continued, I could see you heartbroken, and then a war engulfs Arcadia. I am sorry. Juniper was herself left silent as Great Red explained his side. Usually these visions have a chance of not happening, but there is a chance of it happening. Juniper took this into account as she spoke with a tone full of disbelief and sadness, not because she did not trust issei, she did, but because she did not know whether Nicholas would truly betray her. She had known him for years, and she loved him unconditionally. Even her family trusted him. Sure, she may not agree with Nicholas on several things, like when he did not agree with her, one of them being training of their children. But he still was a loving husband to her, even if he has been a bit distant. I don't think Nicholas is like that, Ice. He will not turn on me. The man I love won't betray me. Juniper spoke with fear in her voice. However, Willow and Anne did take the visions into considerations. They knew recently Nicholas has been distant from Juniper, not knowing where he went. He always had an excuse of going somewhere, but they did not take that into consideration. However, with Issei's vision, they were having a bad feeling about what is going to come next. Juniper, he has been staying distant from you. You can't ignore that. Willow spoke with a sad tone as Juniper responded in a dismissive tone. Willow, please, I don't think Nicholas will turn on me. He is not like him to do that. I don't want to believe that. Juniper's tone changed into a more sadder tone, as Anne spoke with her own sadness. I know there is a chance the vision may be a lie, Essie. Don't worry about these visions, you focus on with your studies. Essie nodded in understanding as Juniper added. You have an amazing life ahead of you, I said. Don't let these visions hold you back. You should focus on your studies and become better. Juniper spoke with a sad smile, as Issei only nodded in response. I guess you are right, Juniper nodded. She knew Issei very well at this point. He had a heart of gold, and was well loved by many Arcadians. His peers and his family loved him. He was not arrogant like several Arcadians that possessed Issei's skills and abilities. She took a deep breath and spoke, So what will you do now? Once you have completed your studies? I will join the military. Since there is nothing left to do, I might as well finish my 1 year of service. Juniper shook her head and continued, I mean after that, like, what will you do after this? I haven't really given a thought into it. Maybe I will remain in the military acting as a high mage of some sorts. Or maybe I will join Great Red in office in the Dragon Kingdom. Great Red nodded in acceptance since they knew he would be accepted there because of him being a dragon, as Juniper spoke with a smile. I think you will be welcome there or in the army. But for now, focus on the studies you will have ahead of you, Eyes. Don't let those visions harm you. Issei nodded in agreement as he spoke. I see. Well then, nothing else I have to show. Don't you have any god keys you have made, or any new spells? Willow asked with a bit of excitement, as Issei responded, None yet. I am working on it, but nowhere near done. Some still need work for me to use it properly, so that is going to take a while. Willow nodded in understanding as she responded. Take your time, my student, and let the adults take care of the situation ahead of you. Willow's words made Issei understand as Juniper spoke. Although, it would be wise to keep the visions amongst us and not tell anyone, there is no point in unleashing panic and doubt amongst anyone else. Juniper spoke seriously as Great Red spoke in agreement. You are right, EMP. No one will come to know. I will make sure that no one knows about this. Juniper nodded in agreement as she spoke. Thanks, Great Red. And with that, we can end this talk. And Issei, I am telling you again, don't let the visions affect you. Juniper spoke while keeping her hand on his shoulder, as Issei nodded. Well, we will all take our leaves. Goodbye, issei, Great Red. Juniper, Willow, and Ant teleported out of there, leaving Essie and Great Red. I should also head back since the dragons will probably wonder where I am. I should also get going. Essie nodded as Great Red soon flew out of Essie's dorm, leaving Essie alone, wondering on how things will go next. Scene change. Vlad's Fortress, Outlands, 5 p.m. Vlad and Nicholas were watching Issei's fight against, and they were surprised that he was able to keep up with a member of the Big Three while holding her on ground. He was capable of really some amazing things. This boy keeps surprising me, Nicholas, Vlad spoke with excitement, as Nicholas spoke. I told you about him, Vlad, he is powerful. Speaking of which, how is our new ARC recruits to your eyes? Vlad looked at him as he paused the viewing. It is amazing. I am able to know several weak points of Arcadia, and with your help, we may be able to commence an attack in a few months. Nicholas smiled in response, as Vlad asked. I know, I am asking you for a lot, but can you find out more about this essay from his Earth? Anything from his family, loved ones, or even friends, if he has any from his old world? Nicholas thought for a moment. As he spoke, I may not be able to, but there is someone who would help you in that. Nicholas spoke with a smile, as Vlad asked. Who could it be? Nicholas spoke while pointing out to a woman in the shadows. She was described to be a tall and beautiful woman with curly orange hair. She had blue eyes and is known to have an emotionless expression, similar to Office. She is wearing a white polo underneath a black dress with golden linings. She is also wearing a corset with golden buckles. One of them has a jewel placed on it. She wears black gloves and a small cape with the middle also having a blue jewel. Glad meet Carmilla Leichenberg, the new head scientist and the brains of the Black Arms. Carmilla walked forward and kissed Nicholas on the cheek as she spoke. It's finally nice to meet you, Vlad, and this boy essay has caught my interest, and the best part is that he has been trained by my project, Sephiroth. I wonder if I can bring him on my side. Vlad nodded as he spoke. Not now, leave the bringing to my side part to me. Nicholas spoke with a smile, as he continued, I have another task for you, Carmilla. Go on. Carmilla spoke with interest, as he continued, I want you to find out everything about this boy, especially his old life. Can you do it? Carmilla thought for a moment as she spoke. I can, but it will take some time since his Earth is unidentified, so you will need to be patient for that. Nicholas nodded in understanding as he spoke. Take your time, Carmilla, there is no hurry, we need to first prepare our armies for the invasion of Arcadia. Carmilla nodded as she spoke with a smile. That will be done, Nicholas, Vlad, and soon Arcadia will fall under our hands, under our control. Carmilla's had a malicious grin as the two nodded excited for what will happen next. Over 1. Dark shadow of the past. A few days have passed since Nix's departure and Issei speaking to Juniper. He was currently clearing his room looking for anything that needs to be removed, like hidden Diet Coke trash bottles, which he often hid from Nix or, in some cases, Persephone, Melano and Macaria. They knew of his addiction and often chastised it, however they permitted his drinking once in a while. Putting them in bags, he put the said bags outside, knowing the trash collector would come to collect them in the morning. Since all of his family were busy with either studies or jobs, Issei had time to himself, however, only for a month or two at most. The reason was that it was after examination break, which was due to their exams just ending. It was stressful since the next semester would be their final semester, and after that another graduation where they have to develop a capstone project to pass with a partner, of course, and Invictus was more than happy to pair with him. AJ was moving through his belongings, seeing what would benefit or be used for Arcadia. Sure, he could create another god key, but that was something he was already doing. He was creating Key of Sanction, Thundering Sniper, which would allow him to create strong bolts of lightning strikes and be able to deal some significant damage to his enemies. Additionally, it will allow him to control and manipulate the lightning element. Just as John was searching through more of his possessions, a picture caught his eye. He turned his side to see the picture was of the person more carefully. It was a woman, someone of Issei's past. She was described to be as a tall, beautiful girl with a curvy figure, long thick black hair styled in a Heim cut, and her eyes that were bright red. Issei picked up the image for a closer look only for a frown to grow on his face. Why do I still have this? Issei shook his head, wanting to destroy the image of the woman that he had once cared for. Why did he still have it was beyond him. He must have kept it inside while packing to leave his homeworld and head here. Issei remembered his past, his miserable life at Ko Academy, thanks to a select few individuals. Flashback, this says POV? The scene changes to this Issei 13 years reading a book on a random corner. He seemed interested in the book, he was happy seeing this. Growing up, I always had a knack for learning, whether it be science or magic or even latest trends or news. I always loved learning something new. So that is how base level AIs work. I muttered with a smile as he continued to read even more. You put some data and let the computer navigate through the problem by itself till it reaches the end. This is called reinforcement learning. I spoke with interest, interested to read even more. However, just as I continued to read, someone snatched his book away from me. If my life at home was bad, then my life here was even worse. There were people, including D and sometimes IK, who made my life harder and worse. The person who did so was described to be a girl, a beautiful pink-haired girl with green eyes. The girl in front of me was Norn Cladalissa Jiro. We were once good friends, almost inseparable. However, as time passed, she changed to say the least. The girl snatched the book as Essie begged and requested her. Hey Norn, please return the book. I was reading that. Sorry Essie, but I enjoy seeing you suffer. And he was the one who asked me to do that. Norn spoke while pointing out to a familiar face as I looked in horror, as it was none other than my little brother, Daiheido, 12 years. You can thank my little brother for that change. He always loved making me suffer. He was the reason why Norn changed from a kind and gentle person to a sociopath who sought nothing but pleasure in others' misery and saw others as tools. I am shocked to see how people can just change by some manipulations. The job, Norn. D came towards her as she rubbed her head, and she gave him the book. He took one look at it and spoke. Seems like Big Brother has been naughty reading porn at such a young age. I approached me and kicked me in the stomach, making me almost cough up. I was so injured that I had tears in my eyes. I looked up to see Norn and Dai enjoying my misery. I couldn't believe this. They always made my life miserable back home. My own parents left me in the dark. Will, Dai often bullied me. IK was no help either. I did not understand why he did this, and neither I could see when will he stop doing this. You are a disgrace to the family, you piece of shit. You should have never been born in this world. Dai once again kicked me. I could only hope that things became better. Once he was done with his amusement, Dai told me with a sinister grin. You should have killed yourself. Maybe in the next life you will have a better life. A part of me hoped Dai changes for the better. He left me be along with Norn, who also mocked me for her own pleasure. My wishes never came true. This was just the beginning. It initially started with him only mocking and harassing me. But things only took a turn for worse when the harassment became verbal assaults. And then, they made my life miserable. My parents and relatives were no help. They saw me as a weak disgrace. I felt like taking my own life multiple times, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I had hope in my eyes back then, thinking things would change. Spoiler alert, it did not. The scene changes to say 14 years walking across the town, as he saw a woman with semi-long crimson hair. She had emerald eyes and was very cute and youthful features. The woman in front of me was Maltese S. Melromark. She was friendly, encouraging and flirtatious person. I hid behind a pole out of instinct. I knew this woman was trouble. This was due to me being almost betrayed by this whore, had I stayed with her as a friend for much longer. I knew this from hearing a conversation with her and D by sheer luck and coincidence. It turned out that D had not changed. All this time, he was still the same rotten person he was. I heard that he was going to be framed for rape, and I knew what was going to happen next. But beneath this mask, she is a malevolent psychopath with a wide variety of negative traits. Narcissistic, self-centered, haughty, dishonest, corrupt, arrogant, immoral, treacherous, sinister, sadistic, violent, abusive, deceitful, prejudiced, selfish, greedy, tyrannical, and a pathological liar. If you think Norm was bad, then Malty is a 100 times worse. I immediately recorded their conversation. This was due to me becoming very mature at a very young age due to the difficulties I had faced in the past, thanks to my sorry excuse of a family. Their ignorance made me more mature, made it easier to survive in this cruel, harsh world. Some perks I had was that I was surprisingly good with making food, and I was self-taught since my mother did not have the time to take care of me. I had to do this on my own. Fortunately, I was a skilled pro at it, and I was given money to survive. I managed to make the most out of it, and as time went by, I became very good at it. This let me prepare against them. I recorded it, and this allowed me to clear my name, but at a heavy cost. Dai was still able to somehow convince my parents that I was the bad guy. This was because Multi could no longer be with my brother, and Dai hated me for that. Result was, my parents called at me and threatened to kick me out of my house. I was not yet ready to survive on my own. Since I am not yet qualified to properly get a job, there was still a year remaining, and with my bad reputation due to Dai framing me for being a pervert, I couldn't get a job in Kwa and had to change towns, which was not a good idea since I did not know where to go and where to live. I managed to evade her and escape. She betrayed me, and now I could care less what happens to her, and if she continues this, karma will hit her hard. The scene changed to a few days later as Issei, the same age, walking across his home, which couldn't be more or less of a hell. He walked inside only to see the room lit up. He headed inside as he took a look at his family having dinner without him. This happened to me on a daily basis. It was no secret that my family neglected me and hated me for not possessing magic, not knowing my magic prowess will make them grovel under my feet. Back then, I did not have that level of magic, that is why I was treated as such. I walked inside knowing they did not even care for me, however I failed to notice Dai in the dining table. I headed inside only to hear moaning sounds in the room, making me wide-eyed. That was the day I lost any and all hope for my brother's improvement, and a good friend it broke me, to say the least. I recognized whose moaning it was Yumiko's. She was a good friend, and I was going to confess to her in the next day. I was devastated. I couldn't bear to see what happened inside, but all I know is that they had Hex today. I know my parents and relatives would support them regardless. He was the heir to the family, and he could do anything. He had the highest magic power and the abilities to boast it. Worse, he became the wielder of the Crescent Moon gauntlets, which only increased his pride even more. As pride and arrogance grew to extraordinary levels, he became worse and worse as days went by, and one of his targets of humiliating was, of course, me. The scene changes to this: 17 years he was again resting for a while. He had been practicing magic in secret since this happened after his potential was unlocked. He often did this at night when everyone was resting. However, just as he was resting and calming down, someone else had struck him. And finally, we get to the most physically tormenting amongst the ones that made my life miserable, the Kendo Club. The so-called protectors of Kwa Academy. I looked up to see a beautiful girl with ankle-length brown hair that has a medium strand sticking up on her forehead with knee-length hair strands hanging on either side, dark auburn eyes, and a curvy figure. This was Aya Natsum. She was a third-year student. We never had a good relationship, but ever since Dee got involved, she became arrogant and narcissistic. She often attacked me for no reason, with the excuse of discipling a pervert. What's worse is that thanks to my brother, she refused to train, and often due to her arrogance, she often criticized others. And well, thanks to my false reputation caused by Dai of me being a pervert and a rapist, she not only believed in those rumors, but also hated me. Which was no secret since many hated me. Now what was that? For I looked up to Sia, who had raised her sword to attack me again. I instinctively dodged the attack and was on my feet. You deserve a torture, you damned pervert. I knew reasoning with her was pointless. After all, this was not the first time I have dealt with her. She has done this before. I knew I wouldn't be able to handle the entire Kendo Club, not without revealing my magic or the supernatural. My only option was to run away, and I did just that. That Amaya shouted as Caddis, Murayama, and several girls started to chase me down. I ran as far as I could. The good thing was that I also has my sacred gear, and Drake boosted my legs, allowing me to outrun and hide myself. This has been happening for a long time. I always wanted to leave, but I just didn't know how or when or how until 2 years ago. But if you think my misery stopped there, then you are wrong. The scene changed to say, a few months later, in the student council, where Sona threw the papers down as she angrily spoke, "Is this what you have been doing?" Peeping on the kendo club. No matter how I explained myself, I was always blamed for the misdeeds happening around here, and as time passed by, I started to lose faith in others. I never did all those things, but no one listens to me. I tried to reason with her as someone spoke from the audience. I looked at him, and he was Genturo Saji, one of Dai's lackeys. "Oh, but I have seen you do it. You often are known for this." Then someone else had spoken, and this was Momo, who had a crush on Sagi, although she tried her best to hide it. I was able to see through it. "Your past actions are too strong to ignore, hide. Dai is right, you really are a disgrace to the family," Momo spoke coldly. However, I didn't flinch. I was used to their miserable treatment, so it was no secret. I had no choice but to accept the punishment. I could see the hatred in their eyes. They wanted me gone, but something stopped them. I later found out that I managed to charm Sona. He saved face by showing his kindness and stating to not expel me, and I won't be surprised if he even managed to do the deed with her. Worse is that eventually, none in the faction stopped them. Time passed by, and I wanted to live a normal life, but I never got the opportunity. I could hear the cheerful noises that belonged to several women. I could care less, but what surprised me is the presence of some of the girls in the place. I was genuinely surprised to see Tsubaki, Shinra and Kusha abandoned at my place, as I remembered them having interest in other men, but I could care less on what happened. Let them do hex or whatever. Dai has already done the deed with Yumiko, so if they do it with him or in the future, it is not my problem. Not anymore. The scene changed to where the Kyoto incident where Issei managed to force Cao into retreat, but when he saved Yusaka, she, like many others, fell for Dai's lies and hated Issei. After the Kyoto incident, I was beginning to see why I should not be helping them. Shame it was too late when I executed that plan. I don't want a liar and a deceiver like you near my daughter. Please get away before I harm you, Yusaka spoke to Issei, making him nod reluctantly as he remained distant from her. Needless to say, my trip for Kyoto became from bad to worse. Worst was during the raiding game, where I was appalled that I lost against Siyard by sheer luck and not by the fact that he did not train him. I started to lose faith in the devils and eventually kept my distance while learning as much magic as I could. Well, I don't remember well what happened in the vampire territory since my memory is hazy and blank in some spots, but I did remember Amenhotep's words, but it was no secret, those were words of hatred. However, there were some people that started to care and love me despite what happened to me, like Great Red, Office, Persephone, Hades and his family to name a few. Then I haven't forgotten the kindness shown by Sharon and Thanatos to name a few. I wouldn't be the same if it weren't for them, especially Drag, and he was there when I needed him the most. So that is another thing. Unlike my sorry excuse of parents. Then the day of fighting against the beast of apocalypse came. It was a grueling one, and someone that was capable of annihilating everyone. I had to act quickly or we would have faced annihilation. Luckily, I was not alone. The scene changed to Issei, along with Hades and his family working on the seal that would deal with Trihixa. It was a grueling one, but not unstoppable. If the biblical God could have sealed him, so could we. I had worked day and night, had sleepless nights, since I had to protect the little circle of people that cared and loved me for who I am. I hadn't met Nyx back then, so Hades's family is the only one that cared for me, and I am not going to lose the little amount of people that cared for me. Alright. So we can use the seal to unleash the biblical God's seal, and that's it. Right. Persephone added her own words. That is correct, but I think you should probably make it a bit more draconic. Persephone's words made me wide-eyed as I spoke. Are you sure? If word gets out of whom I am then? Don't worry, we will make sure they don't get to you. I am as strong as Circeges and won't go down without a fight. Hades spoke with an assuring tone as Issei nodded in response. I knew Hades very well at this point. He finally now has a family that once loved him, and he was not going to lose them. He hated Circeges for what he did to me and had no empathy for him. Although he wouldn't tell me, he wished for Circeus to die against Trahixa. Fair enough, I will take this risk. I spoke in assurance as he handled the seal and working on it. And despite what I did, I was still treated like garbage. Dee once again took credit. At this point, they had become dogs of my brother. I wasn't even appalled at this point with this, since if he could manipulate my former friends and several others, then I won't be surprised by the fact that even the supernatural fell to his hands. I was starting to see rise of him being right. He called me a fool, and I guess I really was a fool to actually help them, but I learned it the hard way thanks to Ingvild. The scene changed to issei and Nyx fighting on a standstill, with Nyx eventually collapsing. Issei turned around to see Ingvild safe and sound. Issei soon collapsed exhausted. I actually thought maybe, just maybe there would be hope, but I was quickly proven wrong. I could see Ingvild being embraced by Dee, finding out that she was manipulated by Rias, and Dee of telling lies of her. Eventually, like many others, she hated me. After I was done grieving, Dee came to me and spoke the words that had been haunting me for a while. This is something you'll never enjoy. I widened my eyes in shock, and it took me everything to not punch his face off. I wanted to actually kill him, but I would only get into further trouble. That was the last straw. My life was miserable. No one cared or loved me. I was done with everything. There was one thing left to do. I released Nyx, and along with Hades and his family, plus Great Red in office, we all escaped. I had nothing left in this godforsaken world. End of Issei's POV. Flashback ends. Issei looked at the picture of his former friend and crushed it as he remembered a quote from a certain person. He threw the crumpled picture on the ground as Drake asked, "What will you do now, partner?" Issei looked at his boosted gear as he spoke, destroying this image. Issei brought some flames and burned the picture. It started to melt in the flames, leaving no trace of what remained of the image as he spoke to his partner. You know what they say, let the past die, kill it if you have to. Issei spoke coldly as he watched the image burn. Soon there was nothing left of the image. However, just as he was about to lie down, someone rang the doorbell of his dorm. Humming, Issei walked towards the door, only to see John in the door. Hey, what brings you here? John spoke with a smile, as he added, we are celebrating our first victory against the Combine, so we were hoping if you and Nyx would like to join us. I don't mind, but Nyx has gone to Galaf's kingdom to work under him. John nodded with an understanding tone as he spoke. I see, well then, sure, I don't mind. Okay. Let me change into a much better. Where can you send me the location? John responded with a smile. Sure. Why not? John did so and said his goodbyes as he expected him to show up soon enough. Issei then headed inside to change into his clothing. Scene change in the DxD world. Quick Court, 6:30 p.m. Many women were seen to be crying as the judge that presided over their case was present. Upon closer inspection, they seemed to be teachers of Core Academy, as the judge coldly spoke. With proper evidence and proper cross-examination, I award the men present full custody of the kids along with their property. One of the women spoke. You can't do this to us. The husband of that woman looked at the judge and spoke. Thank you, Your Honor. The man looked at the woman as she had a pleading look. He then coldly spoke. You have no right to ever step foot in my house. Not only do you cheat with a student, but also you have the gall to do it in my house. I don't want to see you anywhere near me or my kids. The woman started to weep along with many others. The reason for this trial was that the female human core teachers have been caught being with Dai and have been sleeping with him. The only ones who did not were the supernatural, or those affiliated with the supernatural. As the chaos was going on, someone was watching them. She was described to be a beautiful white-haired woman with tall, fair-skinned girl with knee-length white hair, bangs swept to the right side, green eyes, full pink lips, and a cute girl next door face. As a vampire, Mocha has pronounced fangs that allow her to drink blood, and her expressions are much softer in this form. She wore a school uniform, but she does not wear the collar tucked in or the bow tie, as she needs to make room to fit a rosario. She loved Essie, and she was forced to erase his memories due to Aelmenhild and Rias threatening to harm him and potentially kill him. She was afraid of losing Issei. It hurt her the most that she had to do this to Issei. She reluctantly erased his memories of her ever existing in his mind. It was on Issei's suggestion, since he hated seeing her sad. He convinced her to erase his memories. She was Mocha Akashia. I hope scum like you burn in hell. Mocha spoke. She remembered her icon very well and hated Dai for making his life miserable. When Issei went missing, she has had enough. She vowed to one day find enough evidence to prove Dai to not be the same person that cared and loved them. He only cared for their bodies. Additionally, he made Icon's life miserable, and that alone made her hate him. She was going to make him pay one day. Seems like there is someone that cares for him. Mocha turned around to see Thanatos having a smile behind him. He was described to be a Grim Reaper with an ornamental black cloak, which was in the guise of a hoodie when in the human world. Thanatos. I thought that Thanatos rushed to put his finger on her face as he spoke. Not here if those morons know I am here. I and my realm will be in trouble. Thanatos kept his hand down as Mocha spoke. Fine, but you know where Icon is? I will explain. Let's go to the realm. Both Thanatos and Mocha teleported out of there. As soon as they reached, they were greeted by Sharon. He was described to be a white-haired man, wearing a black shirt and a white cotton shorts. As he asked, I thought Hades made it clear that no one was allowed here. Right. Sharon chastised Thanatos as he knew that Thanatos was the most loyal of Hades's Grim Reapers. As he spoke, she cares for the kid. Don't worry, Sharon. She is on our side. Sharon looked at the damper for a moment and nodded as he spoke. Do you wish to know about Issei? Yes. I do. Can you tell me where he is? Sharon nodded as he spoke. He, along with his true family, are in a world known as Arcadia. Hades was able to contact me a day before and was considering talking to the Empress about taking the entire realm of dead to integrate ourselves in that kingdom. From what he told me, 2 years have passed, unlike 5 months in this world. I see Mocha spoke with happiness, knowing Issei was alive and well, Astanatos added. Additionally, from what Hades spoke about him, he is living a happy life there and is becoming strong at a very rapid rate, trained by the people of that world soon enough. We will also be living there. Mocha nodded in hope. Once she met him, she was going to restore his memories and help him recover. Chapter 11. Black Arms. Vlad's Castle, Outlands, 9:30 a.m. Carmilla was overseeing the operation that was going on in the Black Arms. They needed to be ready for the attack that will be happening in a few months. Vlad believed they were ready, but Nicholas did not. He knew that if the Arcadians need to be defeated, he will have to work even harder to recruit more people to their cause. One of them was Frisia von Bismarck. She was described a wolf faunus. She has short gray hair and silver eyes, wearing glasses. She appears to be wearing a more informal version of an officer's uniform, given the royal ornaments on her shoulders and a part of her chest being shown in the middle. She is wearing brown gloves, equipped with 2 belts around her shoulders, stockings, and black boots. She is also wearing an admiral-type coat as a jacket or cape. She was right now a spy for Nicholas, telling him everything about the Arcadian politics and when is the right time to strike. Speaking of Nicholas, he had to spend limited time here since he needed to be with his wife Juniper to show that he was on her side. Recently, Nicholas's disappearance has caused some doubt in his wife to show that he is on her side and still loves her. She wanted to have a vacation. As a result, the duo wanted to plan for it, but in reality, he was trying to maintain a charade of him loving her. The good thing for the Black Arms was that he was currently here. He was alongside. Carmilla was checking the logs of the armies. They do this on a weekly basis so that they can gather enough strength needed for their first assault. Log 15. We've just received word of a new batch of Black Arms soldiers heading our way. It seems you went through with the deal, gathering over 250,000 troops and 1 million more coming. This will truly fast-forward our plans in conquering Remnant. Nicholas looked to Carmilla, who had spoken with a smile as he responded. Indeed, that is the best part. I managed to gather every force I can, and like always, Carmilla, you never cease to impress me. Carmilla had a red tint on her face as she responded with a smile of her own. Of course, it is the best I do. The armor I have gathered is known to be very effective in our plans up ahead. Carmilla walked towards Nicholas and wrapped her arms around him as he spoke, and then we will rule Arcadia side by side no matter what happens. Carmilla started to move her head towards him as she immediately starts to make out with Nicholas. the latter responding in kind. Juniper was a good wife, but Carmilla was something else, which dwarfed Juniper in terms of womanly charms. I shall do everything in my power to let this happen, you needn't worry, my beloved. Carmilla once again makes out with Nicholas, who responds on kind. As they were doing their make-out session, Vlad comes in and has a sweat drop as he speaks. Ma'am, please do this in private and not in front of the soldiers. The two break off as Nicholas comes to greet Vlad and spoke with a smile. Vlad, sorry you had to see that. I am glad you could make it here. Vlad spoke with a sigh. Well, I do live here, so what is it you two wanted to tell? Carmilla fixes herself and speaks. I want to show you the new army gear that I developed, as well as more of the army. In that case, show me. I am more keen on knowing what we have in store against the Arcadians. Carmilla nodded as she started to explain the things that will be useful in the war against the Arcadians. Let us begin with the first squadron. Carmilla speaks while a squadron approaches toward them. They are a squad of around 20 elite black-armed soldiers compared to the armor of the standard black-armed soldier. These men are outfitted with gray armor with red and white markings. There were also metal pipes placed all around them. These serve as their exosuits, enhancing their strength, endurance, and agility. Their helmets are outfitted with the latest HUD, which allows them to work effectively during stealth missions. Yes, Nicholas asked the captain who had walked forward. He had yellow marks on his armor as Carmilla spoke. I was tasked with Lady Carmilla to give you a report. We have found the location of Earth DXD. Thanks to the spies that are present in Arcadian territories, it is light years away from Remnant, but Haidu issei's home, along with several others that came with him. Vlad nodded in understanding as he spoke. That should be enough, but tell the team to keep looking. Locating his home is our second priority, and it should not be important. Is that clear? Vlad spoke seriously, to which the captain nodded. Sir, yes, sir. Vlad looked at Carmilla, who also nodded in understanding. She will locate his home at all costs, but whenever she is free. Anyways, we are getting sidetracked. Nicholas spoke as he continued. Carmilla, you may begin. Right. So where was I? Yes, so I researched the strongest metals you can find in Arcadia and mixed all of them together, forming my own metal, which I call mucus. The metal which was made into these standardized bullets, vests or armor, and can withstand numerous shots. The cloth is the same as well. I experimented on numerous fabrics that allow our soldiers to take a few shots before being taken out. Using a pistol on our men would be useless. Carmilla explained as she called out a battalion of soldiers. The two watch as Carmilla calls out a large battalion of soldiers, sporting different gear sets and armor. The first among them are soldiers wearing black military gear with numerous vests placed on them. They are sporting black gas masks with a red visor on it. These are another legion of black armed soldiers. As for these legion of soldiers, we will task them in urban warfare. They are outfitted with the latest hardware to combat scenarios in urban terrain. Each of them are well equipped and are armed with heavy bulletproof vests. I also equip them with chemical grenades. After all, those samples we stole need to have their uses. She then walks over another set of soldiers that have a more futuristic looks to them, such as the helmet and the red metal pipes all around their body. This one is my favorite. I outfitted these legions of soldiers with tech we stole from the different planets. We will need the proper gear to wage a full galaxy-scale war. Carmilla spoke with a smile, to which Vlad responded, I remember you have numerous contacts in the sectors. How many men did they provide you? Over 20 million of them. The other planets are eager to help us out in this little occupation we will be having soon. Carmilla spoke as she remembered her plans of having their first assault. I see, Vlad responded as Carmilla spoke, continuing on with my explanation. I outfitted the men with exosuits and state-of-the-art gear to survive in any planet and in space for a certain period of time. The space suits are still in production but are on schedule, and the final icing on the cake is my contacts provided us with over 100 cruisers capable of attacking and defending against an Arcadian fleet. After she finishes her explanation, both Vlad and Nicholas were clapping in approval as Vlad spoke. Well done, Carmilla. Your work exceeded my expectation, like always. Nicholas also added his own words of approval. I told you, Vlad, the people I recruit have been beneficial to our cause. Vlad nodded in agreement as Carmilla spoke with happiness. All in the name of science, and the deadliest weapon Arcadia has ever seen. Carmilla spoke happy that she was able to forward a research in science, and even gaining someone she loved, which was Nicholas. Scene change. Carmilla's office, Black Arms Territory, Outlands, 11 a.m. Carmilla can be seen pacing around her office. She brought out a stack of papers and files. These had details relating to the Black Arms, as well as the factions that have joined the Black Arms. Nicholas and Vlad had left to inspect the armies, as she went over them and spoke. Log 69. Besides the increase of manpower and weaponry, Nicholas also decided to use his charismatic nature to get people to his side, and these are those certain individuals. Carmilla spoke with a serious tone as she went over the report. She sees the first one having a symbol of what appears to be the Arcadia flag, but drawn using a marker in a messy way. The True Sons. Carmilla found a USB drive as she puts it in the laptop inside of her office, watching the video report of what had happened. Video report, Earth 25. Arcadia Military Zone, 5:30 a.m. In the numerous Arcadian military containment zones, this is used in an evacuation zone and a military outpost during certain outbreaks or city-wide attacks. Right now, the Arcadian forces are being overrun by a battalion of soldiers wearing blue shirts and camo pants. They are heavily armed, firing upon the Arcadian soldiers. These are the soldiers of the True Sons, a group of paramilitary warlords bent on using their combat expertise and overwhelming firepower to dominate their enemies and expand their territory. Smart and organized, the True Sons are led by a former Arcadian officer whose ruthlessness and combat prowess make him and his combatants a horrifying force. True Sun assault and engineer units can be seen pushing the Arcadian soldiers back. They are there to assist the Terrans as engineer units use their turrets to pin them down. This Tango 01, requesting backup immediately. The stronghold is surrounded by True Sons. We need help now. The Arcadian sergeant shouted with anger and fear as he hoped that someone would come for them. The Arcadian sergeant went out of cover but was shot down by a True Sons sniper. The officer of this unit, Major Anders, orders all True Sons to push forward and take the stronghold. Let them have them, boys, Anders commanded his troops, as they keep pushing forward. Up in the rooftops, the True Sun RPG units fire their Coral Gust of M3 RPGs, destroying parts of the base as the True Sons rushers come in, throwing chemical weapons inside the base. The Arcadian soldiers without gas masks start coughing, falling to the ground in agony as they were gunned down by True Sons heavy weapon units, using their military M60s to massacre them. Anders even sent True Sons tank units to wreak havoc in the base. All that's left of the base is a lot of dead bodies on the ground with True Sons soldiers finishing them off. Anders orders his men to find any intel inside their stronghold as they move on to their next target and make this base their own. The video ends with their victory. Video report ends. Carmilla soon sees a detailed report about the one leading the charge against the Arcadian military base, and their leader is the ruthless Arcadian officer known as Anton Ridgway. He was once a top salesman as well as weekend warrior in the Arcadian National Guard. Having financed his college studies through Strixhaven, he went on to become a reserve officer, and his effortless charm and dogged salesman's perseverance won him early favor with his superiors. He was commanding a company of the Arcadian National Guard as a colonel when the pandemic struck. As the National Guard was assimilated into a division in the Arcadian army called the JTF, he became increasingly disgruntled with how things were run and led his unit in a rebellion, taking command to form the True Sons militia. After some infighting amongst the primary instigators, he emerged as the sole and undisputed leader of the True Sons, and he has led them ever since, promoting himself to general, as he will never take orders again. Carmilla spoke with a serious tone. He was one of the few that Nicholas was able to convince to join them. She opens up a file that has a picture of Antoine Ridgway. He is described to be a dark-skinned man, bald with brown eyes and a shaved beard. He is also wearing an Arcadian military uniform, in which he modified. He is a perfect candidate for the Black Arms, which includes his True Sons. Ridgway is ambitious and has a strong desire to lead. He will always dominate the conversation and express his concerns if he disagrees with the people. He can become decisive when under intense pressure. He is extremely aggressive as the leader of the True Sons and wants to achieve victory at any cost. During the quarantine chaos, Ridgway demonstrated to be quite cold as he prioritized the safety of his men over the infected and allowed them to die. Conversely, he can be caring and charismatic to his men. He can tolerate those who question his priorities as he can easily persuade them into agreeing with him. However, Ridgway will not tolerate insubordination, and worse, desertion, and will personally execute those who try. He also views himself and the True Sons as the only hope in restoring order in Earth 9, and thus justifies the act of demanding tribute from other settlements. He and his men believe it's mutually beneficial as the settlements get protection in exchange the True Sons get supplies, despite some settlements wanting nothing to do with the faction or believing the demands as too harsh. Carmilla continues reading the report. She soon opened up a different file regarding the man, and this was also a video recording from Earth 9 during the outbreak. Video report. Earth 9, True Sons Base, 8:30 a.m. Safety off. Anton spoke as he saw a woman coordinating with the True Sons, unloading supplies for the civilians. Make sure the medical items get sent to the clinic, and the food goes to the storage by the mess halls. Anton walks towards the woman. As he speaks, put those crates back on the truck, Private. Wait, what? The woman spoke with surprise as Anton responded, we are not wasting any supplies on these people, put them back, sir. The True Sons started to place the crates back on the truck, as the woman demanded in shock. What the hell are you doing, Colonel? Anton looks at her and speaks, they are already dead, doctor, are you insane? They need care. What about the staff? The doctor stops the soldier as Anton walks towards her and speaks. They are nothing but collateral. Now take your hands off my soldier. The doctor gritted her teeth in anger as she responds, if you go ahead with this, I will. Anton only holsters his pistols. As the woman exclaims what the foo before the woman could continue, Anton shoots her on the head, killing her. As her corpse falls down, Anton commands the sergeant, bar the gate, sergeant. Looks like you've got a riot brewing. The soldier responded in kind. Lock and load, put it down. Anton commands the soldier as the vehicle he was in starts up. The sounds of the True Sons, weapons cocking can be heard as they leave. Video report ends. Ridgway is ambitious and has a strong desire to lead. He will always dominate the conversation and express his concerns if he disagrees with the people. He can become decisive when under intense pressure. He is extremely aggressive as the leader of the True Sons and wants to achieve victory at any cost. During the quarantine chaos, Ridgway demonstrated to be quite cold as he prioritized the safety of his men over the infected and allowed them to die. Conversely, he can be caring and charismatic to his men. He can tolerate those who question his priorities as he can easily persuade them into agreeing with him. However, Ridgway will not tolerate insubordination, and worse, desertion, and will personally execute those who try. He also views himself and the True Sons as the only hope in restoring order in Earth 9, and thus justifies the act of demanding tribute from other settlements. He and his men believe it's mutually beneficial as the settlements get protection in exchange the True Sons get supplies, despite some settlements wanting nothing to do with the faction or believing the demands as too harsh. Carmilla spoke, reading another report courtesy of Nicholas as she keeps it back. She then goes across another report, which involved another faction of the Black Arms. She turns to another, showing pictures of soldiers wearing a white shirt and blue pants, armed with green body armor and helmets. These are soldiers of Bodark, also known as Special Training Unit 500. Bodark, an elite unit in the Kingdom of Foki, a land of wolves. They are comparable to the ghosts. Highly trained and disciplined, their name comes from the myth of men who choose to become wolves, or more specifically, werewolves. From the information on this file, majority of Bodark's members and leaders went rogue by allying themselves with Raven's Rock. Carmilla read another report of the faction, knowing on how they succeeded in taking another base of Arcadia. She soon keeps the report back as she decides to check something else as well. Carmilla then brings out, showing a box full of watches with an orange circle glowing on it, then grabbing a picture with military soldiers armed with dark heavy armor and dark ballistic masks. They are adorned with SHD watches taken from the agents they have killed, as well as military-grade equipment and armaments. Ah yes, the hunters, fierce and deadly warriors that hunt down the Arcadian special forces, preferably those from the division. Carmilla remembered watching a report where the division agent fell to these people, the reason being was their gear. Scene change, unknown location, 9:30 p.m. A division agent can be seen limping his way through the thick snow. He glances behind him, hearing gunshots and explosions getting closer and closer. The agent uses all the energy he has left and gets a move on, hiding by one of the snowy cars as he tries to contact for help, but was interrupted when a shotgun blast was heard. He turns around and was met with a division agent being blasted to the ground and another firing back at the division hunters, the bullets barely hitting their armor. The division hunter fires his DMR at the agent, hitting him on the head, killing him. Another agent uses his gear to pin them down, but the division hunters hacked his gear and turned his own weapons against him. The agent didn't have time to react as his own turrets fired at him. The agent booked it out of there and was grabbed by the division hunter, who used magic to produce an elemental whip, pulling the agent towards him. The division hunter lets the agent stand up before he shoots him. Meanwhile, the one agent who was hiding by the car saw this and quickly took his leave, but was met with a division hunter standing in front of him. The hunter kicks him towards the ground and starts walking to the agent. "Wait, no. Please. Have mercy." The division agent pleaded for his life. However, his cries and pleas were met with deaf ears as the division hunter equips the crash axe and slams it on his head, executing him. Scene change. Carmilla's office. Black Arms territory. Outlands. 1 p.m. Carmilla is drinking a cup of coffee, while as she goes up and opens a key, picking up another set of files. This was confidential files, belonging to one of the most potent factions in the Black Arms. But let us not forget about our old friends. This organization was founded by an acquaintance of Nicholas. He is the very man that supported the leader of this group and provided him with the necessary means to achieve his goal, and that is the organization known as Outer Heaven. Carmilla spoke while starting a recorder. The image was that of a logo that had a skull with an eye patch and a serpent coil around it. And its leader. She now flips the pages of the folder and showcases the leader of Outer Heaven. His appearance is that of an older man with white long hair that goes around his neck. He has a mustache and is known to wear sunglasses. This man here is known as Liquid Ocelad. Carmilla starts seeing the video footage of the Outer Heaven at work, dispatching a large platoon of Arcadian soldiers in one of the cities or settlements. Video report. Earth 20. Desert location, 8:30 a.m. The video shows up division of Arcadian Desert Division soldiers bunkered up within a location. They were trapped in the rooms, when suddenly, multiple soldiers in black body armor and beige straps, armed with a helmet, whose metallic red eyes glow brightly, slowly make their way to the Arcadian soldiers, with their metal footsteps echoing out in the halls. They are known as Haven Troopers or the Frogs. The squad of frogs leap over the rooftops and slide towards the other building, with some of them performing acrobatic feats. In another area, a drop pod lands and another squad of frogs jump out of it and make their way to the building. Up in the rooftops, the frogs grabbed their FNP-90s and made their way inside. The Arcadian soldiers get into defensive positions and are ready to ambush the frogs. But what they don't know is, the frogs parkour their way towards the windows by climbing through the walls. They signaled towards each other and began their attack. The frogs burst through the windows and countered the Arcadians' ambush, gunning them down in an instant. One of the frogs charges up a small fireball and throws it at the Arcadians, causing a small explosion that sends them flying. In another hallway, Arcadian soldiers got cornered by 3 frogs from both sides. They fired their weapons as the frogs used their agility and acrobatic skills to jump back and forth around the hallways. They look like they're bouncing around. This in turn made the Arcadians miss their shots as they were too fast to hit. Once the frogs got close, they lunged towards the Arcadians as they ripped them to shreds. All around the building, gunfire and screaming can be heard as more and more frogs leap down from the rooftops and engage Arcadian forces. Some Arcadians were able to book it out of there but were met with a sight they did not expect. They were met with a large mechanized weapon whose posture or silhouette resembles that of a creature. What they are seeing is known as the Metal Gear Ray. The Metal Gear Ray makes a screeching sound, akin to a roar, as the Arcadian forces engage the ray. The bullets hitting the armor of the ray as it fires its machine guns towards the Arcadians, ripping them to shreds. It continues wreaking havoc in the building as it fires at the Arcadians shooting from the windows. The Metal Gear ray fires its cluster missiles all around the area, destroying the buildings with over a dozen Arcadians sent flying out of it. "We need reinforcements now," the soldiers shouted, knowing how dangerous the machine was in front of them. The Arcadians continued to fight with Outer Heaven as their reinforcements showed up. But the Metal Gear ray was ready for this and unleashes its anti-tank and anti-ship missiles towards the Arcadian reinforcements, destroying them all. The Metal Gear ray can be seen roaring one last time as the screen pans back to Carmilla in her office. Video report ends. Despite their advanced weaponry, the real price was the Beauty and the Beast. Carmilla spoke with a smile as she brought out a large file pointing to them. She flips a page towards a large section of the file and sees a picture of 4 individuals wearing highly advanced armor with its design representing different animals. This is the unit known as Beauty and the Beast. Vlad will be certainly pleased by Nicholas's new allies, and without me and him, Vlad would have been nothing, Carmilla noted, as she puts all the papers and pictures back. As Carmilla closes the files regarding Outer Heaven, she stands up from her desk and places the file back in its place, but a sinister grin appears on her face. "Oh, how much death and destruction we are going to deliver in the Arcadia once these things get out. This will be so much chaotic," Carmilla spoke as she got up and brought out another stack of files. "Arcadia is going to face our wrath, and no one will stop us," Carmilla spoke as she started to read the next stack of files out loud. "Now we begin the next factions, one that was brought to our side, courtesy of Nicholas." She continues to look through the files and picks one up, seeing a logo that sort of represents a bird with its one wing at full display on each side. Under it is the word Stag. Ah, yes! Not only is the military business booming in Arcadia, let us not forget the private military market is an all-time high in Remnant, and in the galaxy, this group is one of them. She opens up the files and looks at numerous images of soldiers wearing beige and green advanced body armor. Some of them are armed with the standard military weapons, while there are those that are armed with highly advanced weapons. This is the law enforcement organization turned PMC unit known as STAG. Ah, yes, Special Tactical Anti-Gang Unit or STAG, a law enforcement unit which I remembered was originally used to combat criminal and gang threats all across Arcadia. But knowing Nicholas and his charismatic ways, he was able to convince their leader to join up with the Black Arms to fight for a much better cause. His goal, getting rid of the corruption that plagues Arcadia. Carmilla read with a smile. As she continued to see, she came across an image. As she flips a page and turns to the man himself, the leader of STAG. The appearance of the leader is a man outfitted in protective body armor, but with no helmet, and unlike the rest of STAG, his armor is colored dark green and black, instead of white and black. He is of average height and weight, and has short white hair. Age-wise, he is way past his prime, appearing to be in his late 50s or early 60s. But despite that, him and many other Arcadians who are at that age can still fight, due with their Arcadian blood and genetics, allowing them to do so. This man is the leader of STAG. His name is Cyrus Temple. The man who would do anything to achieve his mission and has no care or sympathy for the lives he and his men take. All he cares about is getting the job done. An asset in which the Black Arms will certainly use in this war. Carmilla spoke with a serious tone as she continued to turn the page, reading the weapons and gear that the soldiers have. Even before joining us, the STAG was already well equipped with advanced gear and powerful weaponry. Carmilla read with an impressed tone. The fact that Nicholas was able to bring so many people to their side was itself something. She looks at the many images of the STAG soldiers. Specifically, those of the STAG specialists are known as commandos. They are distinguished by their bright orange suits with orange accents on their white armor. Furthermore, they wear gas masks. These commandos can withstand a great amount of damage and often attack in pairs or even teams. They are impervious to fire. She remembers their armor is thick enough to prevent them from flinching all the time whenever they are shot. The only means of dealing with commandos is to use melee weapons or explosives against them. Another great asset, she made sure to note it down when they would be going to war. STAG are known to possess a variety of futuristic weaponry. The armor they wear is advanced body armor and are armed with laser rifles, while their vehicles use a variety of exotic energy weapons and advanced features capable of causing death and destruction. Carmilla explained as she continued to see many images of the Stag's vehicles. She looks at many images of Stag's vehicles, such as the Enforcer, their main transport, an armored light truck equipped with a top-mounted machine gun, then the Crusader, a tank armed with an energy-based armament. Their aerial vehicles such as the Condor and Spectre, capable of transitioning between hover and jet modes. But Carmilla's favorite among them is the F-69 VTOL. A deadly weapon and vehicle if given to the hands of expert pilots. This will be a brutal ship out there in the battlefield despite their means of waging war anywhere in Arcadia. Their pride and joy is one of their many warships they have in command. One of them is known as Daedalus. Carmilla now grabs an image of the Daedalus, which is revealed to be an aircraft carrier. She smirks as she places the image back on the folder. Then picks up a large folder that has blueprints and schematics of Cyrus's vehicles and ships, but this time, it has sketches of different designs attached to it. Cyrus would definitely love to see what plans I have for the upgrades to his army. From a law enforcement unit to a powerful army. Cyrus for sure will accept this deal. Count on it. Carmilla decided to work even harder. There was still months before the first assault would begin. She soon picks up a file in the desk as she smirks seeing the contents. She remembered on how Nicholas had informed her that one of his daughters, Bianca, was close to the man described in the contents. Yes. Gabriel Terork. Gabriel was described to be a man wearing gray overalls and is equipped with black armor and a red bulletproof vest. He is armed with numerous pouches and equipment, having a holster for his knife on the right side of his thigh. He is also donning a cape and wears a red beret. She picks up a file in her desk that showcases a few pictures of Rourke, one where he used to serve in the Arcadian army, alongside a picture of him with his old team. Then another of him as a leader of the faction that will initiate a joint alliance with the Black Arms in a matter of days. He was once a high-ranking officer of the Arcadian army and the best of the best, but sadly, due to the incompetent along with the lack of respect and care from the idiotic higher-ups of the Arcadian army, he was reluctantly left behind by his teammates during a mission before being captured by the enemy, eventually being brainwashed and was made into a weapon of destruction. He will be another valuable asset to the Black Arms and our cause. He is now nicknamed the Ghost Killer. Carmilla changes the page of a file as she comes across the organization that brainwashed him into fighting against the very people that he had once served. Now he serves the Federation. The Federation, a large military union that originated from Earth-21, located in the continents of North and South America. They've risen to power in a short amount of time, gaining control of all of South America. This in turn caused the other Earths to join their cause, making their army and resources infinite. Majority of the first world countries on those Earths were crippled, and its lands were now under the jurisdiction of the Federation. She looks at a video file to see the Federation at work, taking over a city in a matter of days. Those that fought against them didn't stand a chance and were slaughtered instantly. The Federation soldiers are that of the thousands and show no mercy to those that stand against them, especially that of the Arcadians, who the Federation have a deep hatred for. Carmilla went over to a file and picked it up, opening it up as it shows off a picture of the former leader of the Federation before the ghosts killed him. The man is named Diego Almagro. Ah yes, Diego Almagro, the leader of the Federation during its formation 12 years prior. Amidst the energy crisis in the planet of Earth-21, along with the formation of the Federation, Almagro was appointed to be the leader of the faction. From what I recall from the reports, under his leadership, Almagro expanded the Federation all throughout South America, conquering country after country, and the same can be said for the other Earths. Even if the Black Arms weren't allied with the Federation, they still have a means to invade Arcadia if they continued their path of conquest. Carmilla spoke while looking over the footage as she knew that things will be something as well. She looks over at video footage of a body cam from one of the Federation soldiers. These soldiers are more heavily armed compared to that of the standard soldier, are not wearing camo overalls, but just blue, and are equipped with gas masks. They can be seen entering an Arcadian HQ as the Federation launched an all-out attack at a base that is stationed on a different Earth, and at this point, the Arcadians are losing. This is due to the amount of Federation soldiers on their doorstep. Inside the Arcadian HQ, the place is being set ablaze as Federation soldiers throw incendiary grenades in the rooms, burning the entire place down. We can even hear gunfire as the Federation soldiers are executing Arcadians that are down on the floor or are playing dead. Those that lived are being dragged outside by the Federation soldiers and are being lined up alongside the other Arcadians they have been captured. Almagro's chopper lands. With him stepping out of it, he sees the large amount of Arcadians on their knees. Almagro doesn't say anything and looks towards the commanding officer, nodding. But let us not forget that Almagro was highly anti-Arcadia, ordering the executioner imprisonment of all Arcadian-born individuals within the conquered territories, drawing the wrath of Arcadia. I fear if Almagro is still alive, he wouldn't dare side with the Black Arms. But with Rourke in the picture, this deal should go smoothly. Carmilla looked up at the screen and had a smile. She soon began going through the Federation files and saw something particular. She began typing in the laptop, opening up a file that required a password. Once she inputs the password, the screen opens up, now showing what appears to be a space station orbiting one of the many Earths. It has a small fleet protecting it in the background. The Odin Space Station, or what it means, the Orbital Defense Initiative, an orbital kinetic bombardment weapons platform developed by the United States on Earth-21, a fine piece of technology and a devastating weapon now on our hands. Carmilla spoke with a smile, pressing a button on the screen, showing the destructive prowess of the Odin Space Station. The video shows with the station ready to fire, as she smiles. The point of view she is watching is that of the controls. She can see the satellites launch the rods towards the surface of the planet. It now changes to that of a camera view of the battlefield where Federation forces are engaging enemy forces, and once the targeting system marks all the targets, bang, a huge explosion erupts as multiple rods made impact in the field, destroying literally everything in sight. Carmilla sees more rods making impact everywhere, annihilating the enemy forces. No one survived that last. This will turn the tide in any battle. We have to make sure Arcadians don't find out about it, or worse, destroy it. Carmilla closes the laptop and decided to take a break. There were many more forces she would love to talk about, but now was not the time for that was on a later date, when their prowess would be displayed. The storm is approaching Arcadia and one that will change everything. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.